Well, I did want to talk about a conversation I just had with an insider who's been around the block for a while in the SEC and beyond in the media world. And when I was talking to that person, um, their view of the world is that it's just hard to know what's next in this game of expansion, um, restructuring of college football. I'm going to try to go through this slowly. It affects Georgia only because you've got so many moving parts. How will the Southeastern Conference championship be determined? Will Georgia play Georgia Tech in the future? All of these things are sort of on the table. I will start with the Tech thing. I think we're seeing the slow death of the ACC, and I think that's not a hot take by any stretch. I wonder if Georgia Tech is going to survive what is coming down the pipe right now, because you're looking at a program that most people do not consider elite. It does not add a media market because Atlanta is already Georgia, and it's a program that's just fallen so far that if college football becomes a mixture of the top 36 teams or even the top 50 teams, I don't know if Georgia Tech survives that. Now, what we also don't know is the timeline by which all of this will be happening. And one thing I was talking about with this person today was, what's the real timeline here? And no one knows. Their view of the world was that the ACC is going to have to change in some way their obligations of membership. Would the league allow teams to leave for the Big Ten or the SEC so long as their champion, the ACC champion, has a position in the playoff? Is that something the Big 12 or whatever the future of the Pac 12 and Big 12 would be? Would they make the same sort of deal? There's a lot of concern on the back end of things that if the ACC doesn't move in some way or another, that it will not just die, but kill off a lot of its membership too. You got to remember that they have the absolute worst deal in college football right now, a 15-year deal, I think, from today, if not last year, whenever it was, that locks all 14 of those schools in, including Notre Dame, for everything that's not football, um, at a rate that is going to get blown out of the water by the Big Ten, already has by the SEC. And schools like Florida State, Clemson, they are going to be dwarfed by their rivals, Florida and Carolina, as well as Louisville and Kentucky. Georgia already, blows Tech out of the water in a huge way, but that will never be the same again if what's coming down the pipe gets here sooner than later. I want to mention that today is a great day to pick up DAWGSTRUCTION. A lot of folks have been doing this. You pick up our 2021 National Championship Commemorative Edition book, and with that today, you get our 2022 preview. I've already gotten a lot of people who have ordered, really excited about both of these, and I understand why. They're emailing me, texting me, saying, "Hey, thanks for the offer," and they got it. This is a great publication, if I do say so myself. It's just about the dogs. If you want the preview of Wyoming and Virginia Tech, this is not for you. This is just Kirby and the dogs, and you can get the link down below. DAWGSTRUCTION is down below. If you want to get DAWGSTRUCTION, you get the 2022 preview included. If you just want the 2022 preview, that is download. The link for that is down low as well. If you're in Athens and you want to pick it up in person or just flip through it, the Red Zone on Clayton Street will be there to help you. We don't know how fast things are going to happen here. I think there are two programs to watch, and not necessarily in this order. Notre Dame, Miami, and North Carolina. Clemson is going to be fine. I just don't think Clemson is going to be the team that leads the parade. Florida State is going to be included in whatever a future is, but they're in such dire straits financially. The Noles can't really. The Noles can't be the ones who decide we're going to eat $100 million. The other question is, and this is challenging too, what real value does North Carolina, does Clemson, does Florida State, does Notre Dame bring to the SEC or Big Ten? Do they bring another $100 million worth of value? The short answer is no. But the problem here is just like in the NFL draft, when you have teams go in the first round and they grab quarterbacks like crazy, then there's a run on quarterbacks. In the last 12 months, we've seen a run on prestigious programs. The most prestigious left is Notre Dame, then Miami, and then after that, it's a jumble of people, but probably Clemson's next. I am skeptical, knowing what I know, which is the raw data. I am skeptical that any of these teams really make sense financially. I mean, the truth is, whatever you can get is what you're worth. I don't know if adding those teams to the SEC really brings real value. But if you're the SEC and you sit around and you watch as those four go to the Big Ten, you're not as in as strong a position as you had been. Okay, I mean, Florida State and Clemson have won 3 national championships in the last 10 years. That's not nothing. North Carolina is a population center and hub. It is a huge brand in college football. Excuse me, in college sports and college football. There might not be a bigger brand than Notre Dame, although I think Ohio State and Alabama give them a pretty good run for their money, if we're being completely honest. Georgia has been watched by more viewers over the last 10 years than Notre Dame. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty certain that that is accurate. So what you're going to want to do if you're the SEC is you say, hey, look, what is the end game here? What are we trying to do? Because they're both the SEC and the Big Ten are in the power positions. They're the ones that know that dictate what the future will be. If this is about the accumulation of properties, then it's going to be more of a land rush. Yes, it will matter what happens with Notre Dame, but at the end of the day, I think the real concern inside the industry is figuring out if this is a land rush or if you're trying to get value for your stakeholders, the conference members. And that's a good question. I don't know. I follow this very closely. I'm not sure I know the answer to that. But if this, at the end of the day, if you're talking about conference game where Georgia's playing Notre Dame, every 2 years or something like that, I mean, that would be a big deal in the world of television. I don't know. I don't know if that's a feasible thing or not. But just for instance, here are the numbers. Okay, in the last 10 years, these are the top 5 schools in terms of total viewership. Alabama at 1 with over 1 billion views. Ohio State at 2 at 790 million views. Clemson, because of their national championship appearances, 579 million views. Georgia, 571 million views. And then Notre Dame, 562 million views. Those schools are significantly higher than everyone else. It drops off pretty noticeably under 500 million when you get to Oklahoma at number 7. But USC was just added to the Big Ten on its power. It had a bad decade, but it didn't even have 300 million viewers over the last 10 years of all of its football games. UCLA, you got to really go further. They had 184 million. So not great. Okay. If this is about value, adding Notre Dame, adding Clemson probably doesn't get you where you want to go. If this is about adding properties, there's no question. And that's the inside baseball right now. What is the right move for everybody involved? It's a great question. We don't know the answer yet because we don't know what these guys are thinking.